Figure out what it is that you actually want to do. What is the lifestyle that you want? Because if you do not want to work 6 days a week, do not try to do what Kevin and I are doing. I never used to understand that. I never used to get that not everyone wants to work 6 days a week.
And I always used to say, you just have to commit. Because if you don't think you're going to make the flip, you're not going to make the flip and you're going to land in your freaking head. You just have to commit. And that was always my thing. Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode. Episode number 1676. Is loneliness necessary when you're growing? Maybe. Today, for episode number 1677, Freestyle Friday.
Nice.
I told the whole team, we're recording this on Thursday. We had our team call on Wednesday. We have our team call every other Wednesday bi-weekly. And we do most important win, most important improvement. What's your most important win from the professional realm, from the growth realm, relationships, whatever it is, and what's your most important improvement? And I didn't give either. I don't know if you know this, but I didn't say either. I just kind of went into, I don't really know. This is kind of what I'm going through. I don't know what the win is. I don't know what the improvement is. But I was talking about how I was looking back in my Snapchat from like 2017 when the podcast first got started, even before the podcast, looking back on my old work memories, on my old travel memories, and life was so much more simple and complicated back then, just in different ways. And really, I think sustaining success is harder than getting it in many regards. Okay, let's imagine this. You are someone who, let's say right now you have a side gig. You have a side hustle, right? You have something you do that pays the bills, and then on the weekends you go take pictures or you walk dogs or whatever it is. Yes, it's hard to do both. Yes, it's hard to grow the side hustle while you're doing the other thing because it eats up the majority of your time. But there's a certain thing that changes when you do the side hustle full time, where there's a new level of pressure you didn't have before. Then maybe it's you have all the time in the world to do the side hustle, but you don't know what to do yet. Or you have all the time in the world to do the side hustle, but you don't know how to set boundaries yet. Would you be willing to go through
your experience with that? Because you had a job during the beginning of the Hyperconscious podcast.
It was kind of like a fun hobby. And there was very little repercussions for not doing it well. There was very little repercussions for missing something. What I always try to do, because people say you've never missed an episode, and I'll say that's not true. In the beginning, I did miss episodes. In the beginning, I would go weeks without publishing episodes, and guess what? It didn't really matter that much because nobody knew anyway. So it's not like I had a bunch of people listening who cared when I was missing episodes. It didn't really matter. In the beginning, it was like an exciting, fun hobby where there just wasn't as much at stake. There just wasn't that much at stake. I didn't have to be as committed. Now, because of that, I didn't get nearly the results that I would have gotten, but I also didn't have to carry the amount of pressure that I had to carry later. When I left my job, one weight went off my shoulders, and I had that moment of, oh my goodness, I don't have to go to work anymore. That's wild. And immediately it was replaced with another weight that said, well, what are you going to do? You just left all the safety that you had, and now you're into uncertain land, and you don't really know what's going to happen. The weight of that is very, very heavy. I'm not telling you not to do it. What I am saying is, I don't know. There's something to be said about the very beginning of a journey when everything is sexy and everything is fun and everything is funny and everything's still shiny, and you're kind of naive. I think that's the best word to use is I was naive. I was naive to what this was going to take. I was naive to how long it was going to take. I was naive to what my life was going to look like a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line. Wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it. But the ultimate point that I'm dealing with right now is I think sustaining something is way harder if you're not expecting it than achieving success in the first place. Because if you think of the graph of success, it goes up and then it goes down and then it goes back up higher than last time, but then it goes back down. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it never goes down lower than the previous low. Hopefully.
The problem is it feels the same.
It almost feels worse.
It almost feels worse.
And I think that's why it's so challenging, because you feel like you're going backwards because you don't have the perspective of what it was like to be in the very beginning. When I remember, I don't know if this was the first time I ever got paid. I don't think so, because it was for $75 and I think I started coaching for $50, but I screenshotted a Venmo that somebody sent me for $75 and it said the goods. The goods. Shout out to Jenna. Jenna was my very first client
Jenna's
ever.
still a client of mine. Shout out to
wild.
Jenna.
It's
What's
wild.
happening, Jenna?
The
I
goods.
hope she's listening.
The goods is what it was labeled as.
Nice.
At that point, that was life-changing. That was quite literally life-changing because I didn't have an income. But now it's almost like and again, it's different for everybody, but if I'm doing a call for $75, it feels like I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
Because that's not usually what I charge. Even though that's way more than I ever made in the very beginning, yep. It's so hard to contextualize where you are if you don't have perspective. And that's why I always go back and watch old episodes and look at old content, because I need that. I need to know, Kev, I know it sucks and I know it feels like you're losing, and I know it probably feels the worst it has ever felt. I know. But look back and remember, you're in the best place you've ever been. You're just more clear of what the goals are, so you're further off than you've ever been too, which is just a very weird place to live. So that's what I'm experiencing for this Freestyle Friday.
Can we talk about the belief thing? Because you have more belief than you ever did back then.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's almost like back then everything was gravy because you didn't believe good things were going to happen. So you start a podcast and you get, 10, 15 listens. Friends reach out and say, hey, great job. When you don't believe in yourself, that's like really cool.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have more than that every single day, probably every hour, actually. But it doesn't feel the same as it did in the beginning, because in the beginning, there was no expectation. There was no... What comes up for me is
every high
relative.
point. Yeah, every high point was a new high point.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're not getting new high points, it feels like they're low points. And they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. They're just not high points.
Yeah, your new worst is better than your old best, but
I know.
It feels worse.
Yeah.
That's something no one talks about, dude. And honestly, I get so annoyed in this industry, the self-improvement space, because it feels... We often talk on NLU about how the spectrum, how some people are so hardcore, life's going to suck no matter what, grind, work your face off. You might work your face off and nothing will ever work out anyway. Just do all you can, whatever. And then on the other end, there's this idea that you can manifest your dream life, and the quote of, I can do anything I set my mind to. The truth is, no, you can't. You can't do anything you set your mind to. That's not accurate. It's inaccurate. You can't grow new legs. You can't win a marathon without training. You can't be the strongest person on the planet. You can't, maybe you could, but statistically speaking, probably not. There's certain things that you're not going to beat LeBron James at basketball. That's the one I always go to, because obviously he's a freak of nature. You can do a lot that you can, if you set your mind to it. There's a lot that you can do. And I know that sounds really empowering, but the accurate truth is, you have to be the right person at the right place, at the right time, in the right way, work in the right amount toward the right things, with the right people, for the right reason. And how hard is that?
Yeah.
Like, no wonder why I'm starting to understand. I didn't understand when I was a kid how much my brain was calculating. And now that I've been writing this blog and I've been really breaking down what my brain does and trying to articulate it in a blog format, I've started to understand. I've been reflecting a lot on my past, and when I was in high school, I had two paths. I really had this honest conversation with myself. I know a lot of kids are like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a firefighter. Like, those are dreams. I wasn't like that. When I said it, I actually went into the future, reverse engineered everything it would take, all the credentials I needed, whether or not it was possible. I actually calculated the probability of the outcome. So you flip a coin and it's 50-50 for heads. 50-50 chance you get heads. I would actually calculate the possibility that I could do these things. And so for me, the two paths were engineer, master's in business, CEO of a Fortune 50 tech company. Now, 80%, I researched this back then, 80% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies back then had an engineering undergrad with a graduate degree in master's in business administration. So that's why I went and got my MBA. I didn't just land on a master's in business. I wasn't like, oh, I like business, let me try that. Like, I reverse engineered everything. And I'm an engineer, that's what I do. And the other alternative to that was lawyer, politician, president. And I really did the calculation. I said, I'm a white Caucasian male who's had adversity, whose father died, who is good at articulating things, and I could be a lawyer, and I could be a politician, and I could one day potentially be president. And I did actually calculate that possibility. And I know how wild that sounds. It's so scary to share because people are like, how cocky is that, right? But I was a 10-year-old kid just really contemplating my future. And I meant it. Like, I probably could have if I wanted to. But I could never be in the NBA. It's not like here's the other thing. Let me give everyone the flip side of that coin. I did believe I could have been president. I genuinely, as a kid, believed that was a possibility for me. It doesn't mean I guarantee it, but I think I could have done it. Now, let me give you the flip side of that coin. I decided not to be a professional snowboarder because I knew I couldn't because I didn't grow up on a mountain. My mom met with Seth Westcott. He's one of the Olympic gold medalists in snowboarding. The professional snowboarders of the world, the Olympic gold medalists, they grow up next to ski mountains. They go to high school at ski resorts, high schools on mountains. I believed I could do engineer MBA president, and I believed I could do lawyer, politician, president, which, by the way, that's what most people do. They do lawyer, politician, president. Not always, but that's statistically what I researched. But with snowboarding, I remember saying, I loved snowboarding, I loved basketball, and I loved video games. Video games, I think I could have done. I ended up getting a girlfriend and going to college, which was a huge mistake. I'm kidding. No, it was a really good thing. But the snowboarding and basketball, I had to have an honest conversation with myself on the other end of, Alan, you can't do anything you set your mind to. You are not going to be a professional snowboarder because you don't live on a mountain and you haven't been snowboarding until you were what? I didn't start snowboarding. I skied when I was 4, but I didn't start snowboarding until I was 14, 15. And there's no catching these guys. There's no catching some. And if you research their stories, trust me, there's no catching them. I met one guy up in Maine. I painted in Maine, and his name was Liam. And this dude was skiing since he was like 4, and he grew up on a mountain. He was one of those guys, and he could do like triple backflips, landing. It was like a whole, and I said, listen, I can't. I'm not even going to do this. So when I share these stories, there's a couple things. One, I believe in myself on one end, and I really did believe those two paths were possible. And I ended up choosing engineer, MBA, Fortune 50, CEO of a tech company. But I also had to relinquish certain dreams that I knew were not actually possible for me. And I want to help everyone kind of come into the realization of this truth, which is, Kev, you opened this with, I'm going through it. Sustaining success is actually harder than achieving it. What I don't want anyone to do is listen to this industry where they say you can do anything you set your mind to. That's not true. But you can do more than you probably think long term. So everyone out there, I think you should believe in yourself most likely, statistically speaking, more than you do if you're willing to work long term. But this whole you can do anything you set your mind to thing isn't actually true. And if you have that honest conversation with yourself, you're actually more likely to achieve more. And I see people all the time, they're on these two sort of ends of, one, they don't believe in themselves at all, like you, Kev. And they're like, I can't do it. There's no way I could do it. There's no way I could be a speaker. And it's like, dude, of course you can. You absolutely could. You just got to put in the work and show up and fail forward. And it's going to be brutal, but it's possible. And then you've got these other people who literally say, I can do anything I set my mind to. And you look at their life and you take an honest look and you go, well, then why are you not wealthier? Why don't you like what you drive? Why don't you like where you live? Why don't you have a beach house? Like, you're just saying stuff. And so again, hardcore here, but I'm so committed to helping people just be accurate in their thinking. I feel like that's where all of the unlocks are. So if you're out there listening or watching this, and you've been a long-term listener of Hyperconscious Podcast, Conversations Change Lives, Next Level University, the change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you love. It starts, change the way you love, change the way you live, and the way you love, and the one you're with. It's funny. It all starts with change the way you think. Change the way you think. That's where this all started. You and I started thinking more accurately. NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know, if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes.
I saw a post that I did from 2010 that was change the way you think, change the way you live. 2010.
That's awesome.
I found that yesterday. I was like, oh my goodness.
Screenshot that. You got to share that.
So here's the thing. I got so lost in my Snapchat memories that I don't even know how to get back there. I got to figure it out. Snapchat, I didn't even know people still use it.
Same. You never hear about it.
Yeah, evidently people are crushing on it. For me, it was like, I just had that moment. I had a block of time and I said, I need to go back. I need to go back. The other thing that's weird about belief is I was joking with Taryn. I said, if I die and I get to come back as whatever I want, next round is either going to be a rapper or a fighter. Like, that's going to be my next, that's what I'm going to do. Because now I actually believe I could do it. Before, I didn't really believe I could do it. Now it's like, if I had the belief...
What do you believe now? If you had the same level of dedication that you've put into this growth journey with me, there's no question if you had started young enough that you could have done it. Now, are you going to be the best in the world? Maybe not.
No, right.
But you could have been a professional. You could have been a paid fighter.
I think that now. Yeah. I think that now. But
you probably would have some brain challenges.
Definitely. I'd have many injuries. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely have injuries. I don't know what they would be exactly. But I never had the belief, so it didn't really matter. That was kind of it for me. It's like, I don't know. Do I really believe I'm actually going to be able to do this? Do I really believe? And there was a piece of me, too, that I don't know. I don't know if I actually wanted it bad enough. I wanted it, but I don't know if I wanted it as bad as the stories I've heard of people sleeping in the gym. Like sleeping in, literally not being able to afford a place, so they just sleep in the gym. And they just train all day. And they get really, really, really good. I don't know. Or the rapping in front of 10 people that hate you every night and just getting booed off stages. Like, I don't know. Maybe, because that's the thing, is that's not where you'd start. You'd start somewhere else. You'd start way less than that, and that actually might be a success for you. Right? 10 people came? Nice. When you're used to rapping in front of the mirror or whatever it is. So, I don't know. Belief's a strange thing because it makes you wonder what would have happened if you went in a different direction.
Yep.
What would you have accomplished? What would you not have accomplished? Belief's a weird thing. Belief it's a very strange, it's a drug in a way. It's a drug in a way. Not a bad drug, but when you look back and say, oh my goodness, I could have done way better at that than I did. Like the whole fire department thing for me, I probably could have done a really, really good job if I just had the belief that I could do a really, really good job, but I didn't. So I didn't think I could do it, so I didn't do it. And it's this weird self-fulfilling prophecy. I know brutal. It sounds super simple. I used to want to be a stuntman back in the day. I wanted to be a wrestler in the WWF, and I wanted to be a stuntman. And we used to have...
Who are you going to be a stuntman for?
Movies.
You got it. Yeah, no, I know. We could be like Mark Wahlberg, stuntman.
I could be, yeah, I could probably be
give me a
Mark
quick
Wahlberg.
5x9 sign.
Yeah, signed. Of course. Tom Cruise. I know Tom Cruise looks 6'5" in the movies, but that man is no more than 5'6", so we're going to be just fine.
Nice.
We're going to be just fine. I don't know. I didn't have it that far fleshed out. But
Okay, well, that's probably why it didn't happen.
Most likely, yeah.
I didn't have it. We just had the idea and left it there.
Yeah, no, it was like, that would be really cool. I used to say this to my friends. I remember we would do... one of my buddies had a backyard that had this big rock wall, and we would shovel all these leaves into a giant pile. And it was probably like 15 feet. It was like it was a good jump. Nice. And I always used to say, you just have to commit. Because if you don't think you're going to make the flip, you're not going to make the flip, and you're going to land on your freaking head. You just have to commit. And that was always my thing.
We used to hammer off, we had over at Mark's place, we used to jump off the top deck when it would be a big snowstorm. We'd make a big snow pile, and his brothers would do double backflips off it, and they were wild. They are.
You got to
commit.
commit.
You got to commit, yeah. It's a danger. We were reckless back in the day.
Same. We used to ride our scooters and hit snowbanks and do front flips. It was the best. I miss those times. There's a little piece of me that misses that recklessness. I think that's why I like grappling, because it's a little dangerous at times.
Yeah.
It's you're connected to yourself. It's just like, this is me and this person, or this is me and this. Yeah, it's just, it's scary in a good way.
When I was snowboarding, I'll go quick with this, but we used to race down Smith. You remember at Wachusett, Smith? There's a trail called Smith. It's the one that down the side, it's like this really steep part.
Wachusett was below me. I went to Mount Sunapee. That's where I went.
Okay. It was below you.
It was below
It's actually
me.
a mountain, so it's a little above 5'6", Kev.
Excuse me. If you want to call that a mountain, you can.
Geographically, I think it's barely a mountain.
The place I learned to snowboard was Whiteface Mountain in New York, where they had the Olympics one year. That's where I learned to snowboard. It was the worst idea ever of all time.
Ever of all time. We used to go to Sugarloaf. A guy named Derek, my mom's friend Tammy, they have a condo there, and we would go there. They call it One Big Mother. That's where she ran into Southwest Scott. They do the Olympics there all the time. This mountain's huge up in Maine. And there's a sign that literally says, if you pass this point, it's an open trail, by the way. This is not like going past if you go past this point, fall to your death at your own risk.
Sounds fun.
And no snowboarders ever did it. It was always skiers. And I did it. And I was like, screw it. But we were reckless, dude. Honestly, back in the day, I was reckless. Dude, I didn't understand how reckless I was. I don't know if it was significance or trauma or numbing, whatever. But I look back and snowmobiles and snowboarding and backflip. I mean, I used to do double backflips on the trampoline. We used to play Mortal Kombat and just fight each other. And I got drop kicked off the trampoline and then got back on, got drop kicked again off the trampoline, got back on, one last drop kick, and then I stayed down after that. But dude, I just didn't understand that that's not necessarily normal. Because
I don't know.
We would.
I feel like it is when you're a kid.
Mark and I, well, of course, you would think that.
All the kids I hung out with did it.
We also grew up in a town of reckless individuals, for sure.
Yeah.
Mark's older brothers we'd play Mortal Kombat, and they would just beat the hell out of us. And
I remember I used to there was a buddy I boxed with, and we just put socks on our hands. That's what we boxed with. Socks. I remember I knocked him out. I'll never forget. It was in his bedroom.
Nice boxing gloves.
It was just a one pair of socks.
Just not even fuzzy socks, just regular.
Just lightweight socks, yeah. And it was like, let's see who does better. And it was me.
I got to say something real quick for the listeners out there.
We do have to hop here in a minute.
We got to go, yeah. I do think, because you started this episode with something productive.
Yes.
And it was about success versus sustaining success. And I do think it's important for us. I do feel a responsibility to share this with everybody. Kevin and I have been reckless.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where we've gotten is not normal. And I mean, it is reckless to leave a job making almost $200,000 a year. It is reckless to just quit your job on a whim and start a podcast.
I do not
is
suggest
reckless. Yeah. You and I didn't have a backup plan. I mean, I literally turned down $1 million of potential investment while I was broke. I I turned down a $500,000 per year job with like stock options and all kinds of stuff, VP of sales. I left an interview at SpaceX. I never thought this was weird until you started telling me these things are weird. Because to me, it was just like, of course I'm not going to, whatever. Like, my family's in trouble. I'm going to go help my family. Whatever. SpaceX is always going to be there. So whatever. Kevin and I went through my LinkedIn DMs to try to find the messages because one of our, the older class above us, one of the brothers of one of my close friends went to SpaceX, and when I was in LA. But now that SpaceX is Falcon 9 and Starlink and all this stuff, I do have that moment of that's so interesting how that's like a dream job for other people. Definitely. And I was like, nope, I'm not even gonna go. It's just weird. And I feel like that might sound maybe cringeworthy to people, but my point of that whole thing is we want you to shoot for what you're supposed to shoot for. It's probably more than you think. Like, don't underestimate your possibilities long term. And this is what I'll end with. There's a book called The Art of Impossible by Stephen Collar. We interviewed him. It's an awesome book. And it just talks about the neurobiology of what achievement actually is and how it actually works. None of this fluffy feel-good stuff. And he says very little is impossible given a decade of dedicated work. Now, some things are impossible, even in 50 years. Seriously. But that's one sentence that sounds cool. But you still have to do the decade of dedicated work every single day. And I was thinking about it recently because Kevin and I got on here this morning and the treadmill has been speeding up, not necessarily slowing down. And I'm really grateful I wake up and this is a dream come true, a lot of this, genuinely. But I'm not going to lie, man. I looked at my calendar yesterday. I was on a coaching session and someone said to me, Nicole on the team, shout out to Nicole, she said, do you want me to move this session because you have back-to-backs every Wednesday and I just feel bad. And I had this honest conversation with her. I pulled up my calendar. I showed her. I said, listen, I want to work Monday through Saturday from 11 to 7 forever, back-to-backs. This is what I wanted. I want back-to-backs forever, 6 days a week, always. Maybe I'll do 12 to 7 or 10 to 6 one day, but I'm not going to close it much more than that. I said, this is my service window. I'm actually trying to maximize here. I'm not trying to do less. I'm trying to maximize my potential and the impact that I can have in the world. And so she was so sweet. I appreciate that. But what I want to share with everybody is figure out what it is that you actually want to do. What is the lifestyle that you want? Because if you do not want to work 6 days a week, do not try to do what Kevin and I are doing. I never used to understand that. I never used to get that not everyone wants to work 6 days a week.
Well, you used to say you can't want the result without the process. And I used to say
I actually used to think that.
You can want the result without the process. I think a lot of people do because they don't understand the process. That's all. It's just a misconception.
I think we can help them understand that.
100%.
Especially you who didn't understand the process and you wouldn't go back, but dude, would you have done this if you knew what it was going to take?
I do not know. If you laid it out and said this is what the next however many years are going to look like, I don't know if I'd do it. Genuinely, I don't know.
I still would because I did kind of know that it would be like this. But I think that's important for you to share stuff like that, Kev, because you have a different perspective than I do.
Yeah. Well, the thing I would end with is decide what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do for your goals and your dreams. That's one of the things that I think if we started crystal clear on that, I was reflecting, and I got to get you off here because you got an interview, but we were 5 minutes out from an interview with somebody that has over 1 million followers, and we saw content that it was like, nah, this isn't it, and we canned it. And that was the last time we ever had a guest scheduled. Us not having guests is hurting us 1,000%, but it's just I don't want to do it that way. Same. Alan doesn't want to do it that way. We had that conversation of, look, it might take longer to get quote-unquote success, but I'd rather do it in an aligned way. So my next level nugget for each and every one of you out there would be make sure you're doing it in the aligned way, because one surefire way to build regret is to get success in ways that you do not want to. 1,000%. It might seem good, but I'm willing to bet you'll regret it. Okay. Join Next Level Nation if you haven't yet. Dreamliner, all that happy jazz. Alan has blogs. Alan does coaching. I do podcast coaching, all that happy jazz. We don't know what we're doing for tomorrow's episode because we wanted to make sure we put as much time into this one, so we will figure that out, but hopefully it will be somewhat valuable, and maybe we'll talk about snowboarding and fighting with socks. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it on your own unique flavor of success. Next Level Nation.